Good morning. Right now, Justin Trudeau is in Washington, facing a day of talks at the White House and on Capitol Hill. Any sit-down with Donald Trump comes with risks, but this time round, the stakes for the Prime Minister may be higher than ever. There is Trudeau being greeted last night by Canada's ambassador to the U.S., David McNaughton, and the U.S. ambassador to Canada, Kelly Knight-Craft. The Prime Minister and the President need something from each other today, the kind of transactional talks that fit with Trump's personal brand as a deal maker. We have comprehensive coverage ahead of their talks today. Janice McGregor in Ottawa, Alison Northcott in Washington. And Alison, let's begin with you this morning. The day ahead, what do we watch for when the Prime Minister meets the President?
Well, Justin Trudeau will begin his visit this afternoon with a meeting with the President Trump in the Oval Office. There are a range of topics that Trudeau is expected to bring to the table today, but topping them is trade, so ratifying the new NAFTA deal, as well as China, including those two Canadians who are detained there. After his meeting with the President, Trudeau will head over to Capitol Hill, where he will meet with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She's a Democrat, and that meeting is expected to focus on the ratification of the trade deal. And Pelosi is also expected to hand over her wager for losing a bet on the NBA Finals, so Trudeau will get a selection of delicacies from California. The Prime Minister will then meet with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, and then Trudeau will hold a press conference with reporters around 4:30 this afternoon. So then he's back on a plane to Ottawa tonight. So it is a short visit, but there are a lot of things that he really wants to get at with the people that he's meeting with in the U.S. And it is a large Canadian delegation, including the Finance Minister, the Foreign Affairs Minister, and the Defense Minister.
Alison, just hold on if you would for just a second. I want to bring in Janice from Ottawa. Mentioning off the top, Janice, the Prime Minister needs some help from Donald Trump. He has two main asks. Tell us about what those are.
Well, the big one has to do with China. As you've been saying this morning, Canada is very concerned about the treatment of its citizens in detention there, specifically Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor, who are facing accusations of espionage in that country that Canada says is simply not backed up by any evidence. As well, we know Canadian farm exports are being targeted in China for retaliation, and at the moment, Chinese leaders are refusing to meet with Trudeau or any ministers, top ministers from his government. So Trudeau needs Trump's help here. Trump will have a very high-profile meeting next week at the G20 in Japan with Chinese President Xi Jinping. And Trudeau wants Canada's concerns to be part of that conversation. As they have before in U.S.-China trade talks, Canada's hoping that the U.S. can use the opportunity to emphasize to China that its treatment of Canada is unacceptable to the U.S. and to other world leaders. And of course, this is something Canada is asking the U.S. to do because remember, all this anger in Beijing started because of a U.S. extradition request. That is why Canadian authorities arrested Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou at Vancouver's airport last December. Now, in return, you talked about transactional meetings. There is something that Mr. Trump is looking for from Mr. Trudeau. He is hoping for an endorsement of the new NAFTA deal, something that's very important to Mr. Trump's agenda, something MPs were still debating in our House of Commons here in Ottawa last night, and something that may not actually get through Canada's Parliament. They could have rushed it, but in fact, they are watching to see what happens in Washington.
Okay, it's good to put this back to Alison. Thank you very much, Janice, because on this point of transactional, we may be using that word a lot today. From the Washington perspective, what is Trump going to be looking for from the Prime Minister, Alison?
Well, as Janice was saying, Trump also wants that trade deal ratified. And right now it is held up in the House of Representatives, which is controlled by the Democrats. And there are some Democrats who have reservations about the deal. Their issues are around some of the labor and environmental provisions as well as enforcement. So those are some of the issues that Trudeau is going to be speaking with the Democrats about. So if he's able to sway them to lessen their concerns a little bit around the deal so that they move towards ratification, ratification. That would benefit Trudeau as he goes into an election campaign, and Trump as well would like that, because for him, ratification would be a victory that he can play up as he looks toward his 2020 re-election campaign.
Allison and Janice, I thank you both.